One of the descendants of Baghabat was Hamira Dev. Around the year 1290, Jalaluddin Khilji of the Khilji dynasty had come and conquered large parts of India. He also wanted to conquer Ranthambore fort and obviously he attacked. But remember, like I said, Baghabat had strengthened the fortifications and the area surrounding it. His descendants did a much better job of taking and making the fort way stronger than it used to be. So obviously when Jalaluddin Khilji attacked Ranthambore, Hamira Dev soundly beat him and drove him away. Cut to 1299, where Alauddin Khilji, who was Jalaluddin's nephew, killed his uncle and took over the throne of Delhi. And now the Khilji dynasty, which was ruling from Delhi, was under Alauddin Khilji, one of the most ruthless and I would say nefarious kings to ever rule, not just from the Khilji dynasty, but any of these sultanates or dynasties that have ruled India from these invaders. Alauddin Khilji sent his general Ulugh Khan to loot Gujarat. Now Ulugh Khan had got two Mughal generals who were part of his troops that attacked Gujarat and won. On the way back, they had some disagreement about how the spoils of war should be divided. Both these generals mutinied. Ulugh Khan's forces obviously attacked the Mongol forces, completely annihilated them, but the generals, obviously Ulugh Khan attacked the Mongol forces and unfortunately annihilated them. Except for the two generals, which was Kabru and Muhammad Khan. Both of these guys managed to escape and went to Hamira Dev seeking refuge and asking him to take them under his patronage. Strangely, Alauddin Khilji and the Khilji dynasty were actually enemies of the Rajputs. Still, following his dharma as a king and following his dharma as a Rajput, Hamira Dev agreed to give refuge to these two guys. Along with their families, they were taken into Ranthambore fort, given a place to stay and high positions in Hamira Dev's court. When Ulugh Khan found out that Kabru and Muhammad have run away to Hamira Dev for refuge, he sent a message to Hamira Dev on behalf of Alauddin Khilji, saying that these people whom you are protecting, they are criminals in the eyes of the Delhi Sultanate. We are requesting you to give them back to us and we will not attack you and we'll forget about this matter. But if you don't give them back, we will have no choice but to attack your kingdom. Hamira Dev knew that Alauddin Khilji was just looking for an excuse to attack him. Despite that, he decided to stay true to his dharma or to his duty and refused to give the refugees back. So Ulugh Khan with all his forces attacked Ranthambore fort. Before he could even get to the fortress, Hamira Dev's forces took the field and completely decimated that army. Ulugh Khan barely managed to escape with his life and rushed back to Delhi. When he narrated to Alauddin Khilji what had happened, obviously the Sultan was furious. He sent a much larger force, this time with Ulugh Khan and another general Nusrat Khan, to go and attack Hamira Dev. When Hamira Dev found out that a larger force is coming from the Khiljis, he decided to wait it out in the fort. He gave them the impression that he is scared and he is retreated to his fort and he doesn't want to take the field against them. Both the generals were emboldened by this move of Hamira Dev and they thought that he's gotten frightened of them. And they very recklessly rushed towards the fortress with their forces. Little did they know that Hamira Dev had sent his forces to surround them. So by the time these guys reached the fort, they were attacked from behind and from the fortress. Once again, Khilji's forces were completely and ruthlessly destroyed and they were left with no choice but to rush back. At this point, one of Hamira Dev's generals made a very big blunder. Instead of staying together with the entire troop, they started collecting the spoils of war and rushing back to Ranthambore. In doing so, he got left behind from his main retinue and the retreating Khilji forces caught him and killed him. Hamira won the battle, but unfortunately lost a valiant general. And he was extremely upset with his other general for having done something like this. Because of which he had him blinded and had him thrown out of his court. What about Khilji? Alauddin Khilji by this time was the only undefeated Sultan ruling over Delhi who had never lost a single battle. It was unacceptable to him that a small kingdom, powerful kingdom, but a small kingdom, like Ranthambore, had defeated him not once but twice. So Alauddin decided to take the field himself, and leading a force of almost 1 lakh soldiers, including all his vassals and all his subordinate kingdoms, he attacked Ranthambore fort. He sent a message to Hamira Dev saying that if you give me 40,000 gold coins and your daughter's hand in marriage, I will let you live. But Hamira sent a message back to him saying that the only thing I'm going to give you is 40,000 wounds on your body if you don't leave from me. Obviously, Alauddin was infuriated and he attacked the force with all his power and strength. But no matter what he did, he could not take the fort. Every single battle that took place saw Alauddin Khilji losing to Hamira Dev. Finally, left with no choice, he once again sued for peace. He sent a message that he would want to discuss peace terms with Hamira Dev so that they can go on their way. Instead of coming himself for these discussions, Hamira Dev sent Ratipal, one of his generals, to go and parley or to go and negotiate with Alauddin. Now, Alauddin was one of the most manipulative kings of his time. He bestowed Ratipal with a lot of gifts, a lot of wealth, treated him like royalty, and made him an offer. He told Ratipal, if you find a way for me to enter Ranthambore fort and defeat Hamira Dev, I will make you the king of Ranthambore, and you can rule under my patronage. And you and I together will take over the entire Rajput kingdom. Ratipal unfortunately got taken in by his greed and instantly agreed. Not just that, when he went back to Ranthambore fort, he also convinced Rana Mal, who was another general, to join hands with him. Now, in a siege where a fort is surrounded by enemy forces, it's very difficult for you to bring anything out of the fort or bring anything into the fort. Knowing this, Rana Hamira Dev had ensured that they have enough grains and enough food to last them for 2 years, so that even if the siege doesn't get over very soon, they are able to survive it. Ratipal and Rana Mal destroyed all the food stores. All the men, the soldiers that were under their command, they took them, and in the middle of night, they left the fort unguarded. Next morning, obviously, when Hamira Dev realized what had happened, or discovered what had happened, he realized that the battle was over. They were left with no food, 70% of their forces had deserted them, and there was no way they could withstand another attack from Alauddin Khilji. Still, instead of giving up, Hamira Dev decided that he and whatever troops were left, including his sons, would go out and meet Alauddin Khilji in open battle, preferring to die in battle rather than surrender. He offered both the Mongol generals a safe passage, saying that some of his men would escort them out of the fort and help them escape. But both these generals, Kabru and Muhammad Khan, refused. In an unbelievable act, the Mongol generals actually killed their families so that they don't fall prey to the Khilji forces. And both of them decided to join Hamira Dev in this last onslaught. So Rana Hamira Dev, the 2 Mongol generals, and a handful of soldiers attacked the massive Khilji forces. Obviously, the outcome of that battle was already foretold, because there were just not enough people to take on Khilji's forces. Every single one of them died in battle. What about the women? All the women within the fort decided to commit Jauhar rather than fall prey to the Khilji forces. Now, Jauhar is something which was not very popular in India, Jauhar and Sati. When the invaders from Turkey, Afghanistan and Persia started attacking the country, their way of fighting wars was that if by chance they happened to win, then every single woman and child from the enemy kingdom would be taken as slaves and sold in slave markets. This was something very alien to us, because in India we never practiced slavery. If a king lost to another king, then the victorious king would take over the kingdom and start ruling it, with those subjects now becoming his subjects or her subjects. There was no concept of taking those subjects as slaves and selling them. When we found out about this concept, it was something that we didn't know how to deal with. So, the idea or the solution that our people came up with was that the men would die fighting in battle, the women who could fight would die fighting in battle, and those who couldn't fight would simply kill themselves by either jumping into a lake or jumping into a huge pyre of fire. They preferred a painful death, an instantaneous death, to a long life of slavery. So that, my young friends, was the story of the valiant Rana Hamira Dev and how he met his end. Unfortunately, not only was it his end, but it was also the end of the Chamana dynasty, because none of his sons or his offspring survived and the dynasty came to an end. What about Ranambal and Rathipal, the two traitors? The only good thing that came out of this is that once Alauddin Khilji had taken over Ranthambore fortress, he instantly put Rathipal and Ranambal also to death, because his theory was very simple. If you couldn't be loyal to your own king, there is no way you're going to be loyal to him. And there is only one punishment for people who are traitors: death. I only wish a lot more of our own Indian queens and kings had followed this policy.